We're here with Mike Carlo again. Thanks, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, I'm happy to be here again. This is just super fun. I love talking about web stuff. I am all in on app dev stuff these days. And we had a conversation a while ago that I actually need to come back to you with some results
Oh,
from
yeah.
my hypothesis about AI things. So maybe we'll get into that in a little bit, but remind me at some point in time, prompt me when you're ready. I'd love to share with you some of my um, conversation returns from what we
Mm-hmm.
talked about earlier.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. And so much has changed from that conversation. Like, it was so recent. And
Yes,
it feels like every 2 days, I'm like, what? How is this? How does it
can't
change
keep
so
up.
fast? It's
I
just,
can't keep up.
it's ridiculous.
it's
Like,
it's incredibly fast. So what are you
Cloud,
seeing? What changes are you seeing already? What kind of things are exciting you?
Cloud Code.
Oh, I've heard about this. I've seen it. I haven't played with it yet. So the fact that you mentioned it, I love the fact that you're just pointing this out because now I have to be like, okay, now one more thing I got to figure out. I was using Cursor,
Yes.
right? So Cursor was the thing I was testing out,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're saying Claude Code. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so Cursor has been
Great.
leapfrogged by Claude Code now.
Not for everyone, I will
Okay,
say.
sure,
It is mind blowing.
yeah,
I'll explain why. It it is terminal based. So I'll say
okay,
that as well. Okay.
sure,
So if we get into it, Cursor, as we talked about last time, it's great because you originally had VS Code. People love
yep,
VS Code. You code
love
in
it.
it. That's just for those who don't program, it's just a place where you write your code. You have your files. Everything's right there. You can do your source control, etc. Now Cursor came in and they're like, okay, so let's do a fork, basically copy VS Code, which is allowed because it's open source. And they said, okay, but we're gonna embed some of these AI features into it.
Hmm?
So now you have the sidebar that is deeply integrated to the app. And so it's great because you're talking to it. It can, with the agent mode, it can modify your files, work
Love,
between files. Amazing.
love
I've
agent mode.
really
So
liked it.
good.
And one of the benefits we talked about last time with Cursor versus like going to ChatGPT, going to Anthropic, going to Gemini, you don't have to be copying and pasting code into a chat
Yes.
somewhere else. It just
Agree.
understands sort of the context and you can tag parts of it. Now, the problem with Cursor, as again we discussed last time, is that sometimes it goes haywire with like big code bases. So if you have a
Yeah.
large file, it starts to be like, well, the context gets compressed. It sort of doesn't understand what's going on, and it'll give you some weird advice. And so you have to clear it and all that stuff. Now,
Been there, have done that.
yeah, so much. And so you start hearing about, well, now GitHub Copilot has access to more of the repo. Should I go back to that, et cetera, et cetera? But it's still a different workflow. And then comes Claude Code. So for those who don't know, Anthropic's Claude has sort of leapfrogged other LLMs in terms of coding. It's very
Hmm.
good at certain
Yes.
coding tasks. And so they come out with this thing called Cloud Code, which is a terminal based chat interface, especially tailored to coding.
Hmm.
But it connects to the repository and can understand a full, large repository
Yes.
and give you insights on it and just work directly with it. And so, yes, it's a terminal based, but you can there's an add-on for VS Code, Cursor, etc. So you can put it there. So it'll work sort of like a sidebar. It's a
Yep.
little different the way the commands work, but regardless, it's very similar. And it is ridiculous. If you go on it, it's like you can
Oh
actually
no.
tell it this. So here's a code base I've never worked with. Please explain it to me. And it'll go in, it'll analyze everything, and then
Wow.
it'll give you documentation on like this is what it does, these are the features, these are the issues in the
Yep.
repository. It'll just
Wow.
go through everything. And you can actually tell it in its agent mode, okay, so let's work on issue 534. And it'll go in, it'll read the code, it'll read the issue, it'll understand what it's supposed to do, and it'll start working, fixing the issue, and then it'll do the PR.
What?
And then it'll commit, it'll run the tests, it'll do everything. So it can just start getting on your issue list
This
on
is
its own.
insane.
Ridiculous. It's so cool. And so, yes.
Command line is nice in this regard because command line allows you to, again, I don't know, but like command line feels to me like this is something you would want to put in, like, I'm going to do a check-in to a repo, right? So command line allows you to do some of the things, like I'm going to command a bunch of things. And so in that instance, you could actually have like a pull request review using Claude Code, right? So that, to me, that feels, so we internally, our company is starting to look at, okay, we're starting to find a little bit of value from using Copilot reviewing your pull requests. So with, if you're using GitHub, Copilot's already built into it. GitHub has its own Copilot. One of the things that I think is lacking, I think, to what your point here, Armando, is you really do want to be able to plug in any kind of model. Like this is, and we're getting to the point where this is getting chaotic. Like these things are growing so quickly. You're playing with Claude Code. I was playing with Grok 4 that came out. And so I don't have the premium subscription to that because I don't want to pay like the $200 or $300 a month for the subscription. So I was literally just copying, pasting code from the browser window into asking questions. I asked it. So, okay, this is great transitioning. Last time we talked about the ability to build an app and throw it away.
Yes.
One of my employees reached out to me and said, Mike, I spent about 45 minutes building an entire JSON parsing app. We created it, we tested it, we used it. It wasn't perfect, did some things a little bit weird, but it did the job, and we were done. So we were able to build like a little mini app for a client that had a very specific request. We knew how to mechanically do it. We were just like, we didn't have all the parsing done. It was the technical pieces that we were like, I don't really want to build all that because I don't want to write the code. Well, with 30 to 45 minutes of time, we were able to like stub out the app and then use it, check it into our Git repo, give it to the client and say, here's an app you should use. And we can even talk to it and say, app, write instructions for yourself, how to use it. So here's the instructions in Markdown written out. Do this, do this, do this, do this. And then you can refine them and tweak it and then give it, boom, done. This was my first aha moment of, we have just built a throwaway app that we talked about. It's going to be so specific. It's going to be so good. You just describe what you want. Now, in addition to this, they did this test. I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, it's a Friday night. I've got nothing going on. It's the evening. I got a little bit of downtime. I'm going to build myself a game. So there is, apparently there's a game called Cows and Bulls. Right, so it's basically the idea. So have you ever played the game where you guess the letters? It's like a word. It's the Wordle, I think is what it's called. So Wordle. So it's like a Wordle game. And when I was a kid back in high school, even I think it was early middle school, I had a TI-82 calculator, and you could program them. And so one of the fun things to do was like write these little mini programs and start to learn how to code. Well, one of the games that I programmed was a very early, like it's a 1960s remake of a game called it's Cows and Bulls, I think is the name of the game, but I called it Pico Ferme. Okay. Pico being you have the right number. It was all numbers based. So you would say, okay, specify how many digits you want to play with. 3 to 4 digits, whatever that thing is. You specify the number of digits, and then that's how many it would pick a number. Okay. And then from the number, it would then build, okay, now you have a randomly selected number, and then you specify, you type in your guess of the number, and then it will then analyze your number and say, okay, Pico, the digit is correct, but in the wrong place. Ferme means one of the digits is in the right place, but and it is the right number. So you kind of get two things. And all it would do, it would only output to you just words. It wouldn't show you which digit. It wouldn't tell you which digit. It would just say, okay, so for example, the number is 456, and I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It would say, okay, the 4 is in the wrong position, and would just say the word Pico. So one of the digits in my list would be right, but in the wrong position. So I basically used that kind of concept, and I had the thing basically build Wordle for numbers. Pick how many digits, make a number, you put the number in, and it would color it green or red based on the right position of the number. And I was just talking to it, move the submit button here, add this. And then I actually tried to go a little bit creative and say, hey, AI, I think I was using Copilot. No, it was Grok. So it was Grok 4. I went to it and I said, create an interesting scoring metric. And then I gave it the rules of scoring. I said, if you get the score could only max out at the actual number that it randomly selected, right? So if the number is 4,552, that's the maximum score you could get ever.
Okay.
And then you get deductions on, how many guesses. So each guess would take the number and divide it in half. So more guesses would continually decrease your score, right? And then I said, well, if you get a digit in the right place at the right position, that keeps the score. It doesn't really, you don't get a deduction for that. But if you had the wrong digit in the wrong place, you get a deduction. And if you have the right digit in the wrong place, that would be a little deduction. A big deduction would be the wrong digit in the wrong place. So what happens, basically the score would continue burn down closer to zero. The more guesses, the more wrong things you guess. So try to basically incentivize you by getting less deductions. So I just basically gave it the rules of what I wanted it to do, kind of complex, and said, think about it. And it spent about 4 minutes thinking through, okay, I could do it like this. Okay, this is here. We probably don't want repeating numbers, because repeating numbers would throw things off, because then you'd get it in the right place in the wrong spot. So it made its own rule. It thought about repeating numbers or duplicate numbers, and it said, I don't want this. And it updated the code to now make sure that the random digit numbers would not ever repeat random digits that would repeat in number. I thought, wow, that was pretty good. It actually built the experience. Anyways, all this to say is I spent probably about an hour communicating with the computer program. I had a vision of a game that I had built as a kid. I talked to the computer using English, and it built the whole thing. And then I could just continually refine it. And I had this, and then the next thing was like, okay, now that I've got this app working, kind of like, I wanted to it was all an HTML file with some JavaScript in it. And I was thinking the next step would be like, okay, I want to land this as like a legit game on a website and just put it to the world and be like, hey, here's your equivalent of a Wordle that's now just numbers, right? Just do it and see what happens. So it was just very interesting to see how that kind of played out.
That's amazing. And also, like, next step, right? You're like, well, where do I put it? Do I put it on a website? Yeah, you could, of course. But then there's all these mini apps like you were talking about last time on Facebook and stuff.
In YouTube.
In YouTube, right?
Could I just do this? Could I just make it a mini game that goes there? Like, why not?
And
like
a few years ago, or even a few months ago, I would say I would never, ever try to figure out how those mini games are built, right? But now you just said,
don't care.
Look at this game. Now figure out the documentation, make it a YouTube mini game.
That's what I want. And then and now you can start pumping out these games like super fast and like cranking them out to all these different places. So me, one who's not super code and technical, can now build something that's interesting to me, the number game, right? Whatever that is. And now I'm also seeing, like, again, I'm following Grok 4 because that is just something I just kind of stumbled onto. I'm seeing people build full on like dungeon crawler kind of games using like sprites and other things and like animating. And again, you're just basically specifying the rules of the game, and they're getting so good that it can just build the game for you. So like, what does this mean? This is making apps a commodity. And I know we talked about this last time, but I want to reemphasize, Microsoft was spot on with everyone needs to build apps. 100% spot on. They missed the mark with Power Apps being the way we're going to do it. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be large language models. It's going to be communicating to these things, and it's just going to build all the code for you, and you're just going to ask very specific questions. And with like Claude Code and Grok 4, it's going to get so good, even if it does have an error, there's going to be enough signals sent back to the AI that when it does make a coding mistake or an error, it will know how to fix itself. It's crazy, incredible what it's doing now.
And something you were talking about last time about like, oh, I'll give it a plan, or like tell it to make a plan first, especially in those little cases where you're like, it's not dealing with it properly. You tell it to make a plan, and now they're sort of doing it themselves. So now these agents are like, all right, let me plan this out, and they'll create their plan and show you the plan and then go step by step. And so all that's getting embedded into the thing.
The experience.
Yeah.
It's blowing my mind. It's crazy. Absolutely blowing my mind. So cool.
The other day, I found another very interesting use case. I don't know if you probably had this as well. So when coding, for those of you who don't code, you have to focus, right? You need to be in front of your screen. You need to be thinking of many abstractions and figuring things out and make sure you use the right names for things and what variable name did I use up here and what. So if you were distracted by, say, I don't know, a random thing, a toddler perhaps in the same room, right?
Yeah.
There's not much you can do. Your code is gonna be a mess, right? And so the other day I had a very interesting experience, which is I was at my in-laws and the girls were there and they were supposed to be with my in-laws, but no, of course they were in the office with me playing around and screaming and doing things, right? And so I had to do something. It wasn't crucial, like nothing really, really, really important, but I had to do something. And I obviously wasn't going to get any real coding work done. But then I thought, well, I have to build this little module. And so I'll do it with the LLMs, right? And so I just started chatting with the thing while I was interacting, right? And it built exactly what I needed and it worked perfectly after a while. And I didn't have to be looking at every single thing because I was just telling it what to do, what to fix, how to adjust it. Then I run the tests and everything worked. Like, oh, this is something interesting. Like if you have a scenario where you have to be at a coffee shop, you have to be somewhere, there's too many distractions at that moment, you have no way to get out of it. You can still get stuff done with it, which is very, very interesting.
And it's not even that. It's also a matter of, you've moved yourself into a role of directing what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. So you're directing the vision. And so again, back to our last conversation was a lot around we have this incredibly smart, very knowledgeable, every programming language, every pattern, all kinds of functions, everything. It knows how to write every little thing. No person can even compete with that from just a pure volume of knowledge standpoint. That's something and it's becoming even better as it goes. It's getting better stuff. And I was listening to Elon Musk talk about the Grok 4, and he was saying in the next year, we're going to start seeing AI starting to produce like new scientific discoveries on things. I'm like, nah, I don't know. We'll see. I'll wait till that one really happens. That sounds a little bit, new, but I mean, as I'm looking at code things, I mean, when is the point when, I already know in my communication with Microsoft employees, they're heavily using AI to generate things, and they're increasing the speed of which they're producing products by using AI to help them produce new code. So this whole layer of like being able to direct, and you actually kind of need to let the AI think for a bit, walk away, give it some time to like write the code. But it's even in this situation, it probably wrote hundreds of lines of code, tens of lines. Like it wrote those things, and those are physical things you just don't have to type out. Another book I read, it was Power Pivot Pro, Rob Colley for Power BI and Power Pivot or something like that, something language there. It's a good book. Mm-hmm. But he talked a lot about in this book. There was one story that really resonated with me, which is the amount of communication that needs to occur between employees when working on a project. And what happens now with AI is I'm directly communicating with the engineer and directing what they're doing. And I don't need to give understanding context to other people now. It's still just me working on the project, but I've abstracted one layer away of the technical debt out of my hands and put it into the hands of the AI. So the cautionary tale here is, how do we know what it wrote is good? And there's not a bug introduced. And I think that's still where the experts need to be in place. And I think maybe we talked about this, but the pyramid of skills, right? There was a very wide-based pyramid initially for junior developers to build the grunt work of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. That pyramid is getting much narrower now. So if you're not the one using the AI to generate the things, if you're not the one understanding how to direct the AI to build the stuff, I think that's going to be a much more needed skill here, is directing and explaining. And Armando, I'm going to be the first to admit, I don't know about you and your family, I'm not a good describer of what I am trying to think about. My family will now ask questions of me, and I'm physically seeing myself think about, I don't think I prompted my kids the right way with the instructions. Like, I don't think I prompted my wife the right way with what I was asking about. And so Now pausing in my real life conversations and say, I need more context. Pause. Like, I heard what you said. I don't understand. Can you give me some more context? And it's being specific in your details as you write to the large language models. It's changing again. We said this last time. It's going to change how we think about things. It's going to change how we want to communicate. I'm used to typing a one-line bit of text into Google and then scanning through results until I find the answer. Those days I think are gone. I don't think we're there anymore. So anyways, I'll just pause. I've said a lot of things. What's your reaction? What are your thoughts?
I think you're on point. It's the other day someone was saying, like, you're telling it to do something and it doesn't work. And if you type in, it didn't work.
Is that? Whose fault is that?
Yeah, of course.
Is it the AI's fault, or is it actually your fault for doing the, like, I'm the weak link in this now. Like, it's my fault.
Yes. And if you do type it doesn't work, it'll think and it'll go and maybe it'll prompt and etc. But at the end of the day, you're right. It's whose fault is it at the end of the day? You did you tell it properly? So why don't you ask a better question or describe it better instead of saying it doesn't work? Say, well, I did this. The button did show up. It's just has the wrong underline or the wrong border. Can you adjust it? And it'll fix it in a second or less. And it goes back to this thing. Like, if you're talking to someone, if you're talking to someone, maybe some people will do this, but it's like, if they come with you, a real person that they just did a bunch of work, and you just say it doesn't work, do you think that'll help? Not really. But if you explain it the same way, hey, the border was incorrect, but the button did show up, then the person will say, oh, sure, let me fix it. And it's the exact same thing. So I think you're right on track. Yeah.
And there's another point I want to make here as well. Like, I'm always on the Twitter and the LinkedIn, the YouTube feeds of things. And someone was saying they're now finding that more value in using images and prompts with their prompts. Add this image with the prompt. And so I'm also thinking about this in the same way. Like, when I work with my employees about building things and building technology pieces, if I can go to Figma and stub out a diagram or an image or like a flow of like what dude, it's so much more helpful to my employees when I'm working with them. And so now what we should be, again, try it out. Again, we'll have to have this conversation in like another month again, but like, try it out. Go use images, build things in other tools, stub out what you think you want, and go back to the AI and say, I want it to look like this. Here's how these things function, and actually diagram out an image, pass that in, and it's the same adamant, right? It's the an image is worth 1,000 words, or a picture's worth 1,000 words, something like that, right? Yeah,
definitely.
I'm changing that too. So I'm actually taking habits that I've been forming with my team and bringing them now to the large language model and saying, these are good things we should be doing. We should be prompting more with images and diagrams in addition to what you want things to be doing. And it will get closer to the answer, to your point, the button. The highlighting's wrong. The shading's wrong. It doesn't highlight correctly. The wrong colors. If you
show it a screenshot,
how are you gonna know?
Yeah. Now I will say 2 words: Figma MCP.
Oh, I've heard of. I showed my developer this. I know about this. Again, it's now large language models for your have you tried it? Have you played with it yet?
I have not. I saw it, and
admittedly, I have not either.
Idea.
Well, I've not only is it a ridiculous idea, I think it works really well.
Of course.
So like, I can describe, again, now I can prompt. So this is crazy. And the other thing I heard this last week, I think it was this week, they said, once you're done with a prompt, after it does the result, you go back to the AI and say, you now are a prompt engineer. Take that last statement and rewrite it in a better prompt, and make the AI rewrite it in a way that it understands how to write the prompt. So that way you get the output of a better prompt, and then you can start learning from that as well and change how you think about prompting the computer to begin with.
Yes. It's getting to a very weird place, but it's so good. Because like the Figma thing is not only going to see the visual, like if you took a screenshot, that's enough most of the cases, but with the Figma MCP, now it will understand the whole tree and see where things are supposed to be played and the context of how the thing. And so we'll have to do another conversation just on MCP because that's
Yeah, it's totally
ridiculous
new
topic.
ballgame. And I'm seeing this. This is creeping out in the Microsoft world as well. Again, I'm very Microsoft centric, so I'm seeing MCPs starting to come out from Microsoft on top of their existing data products. So if you're in Microsoft Fabric and you're using things there, they're now announcing, hey, these MPC things are now showing up, and they're again back to the whole idea of this. There are now Microsoft MVPs speaking about what the MPC is doing, how to build your own MCP, and how to use the MCP on top of other stuff. So there's like this, and one of these other gentlemen's name is Kurt Bueller, and he's really smart. He's actually a PhD, really genius guy. And so I think this whole MCP world has just like bit him. Like it's like he loves it, and great, because now I'm learning from him in this space.
Oh, good.
But he's talking about like how he can generate an MCP, but MCPs at like talking to an API layer, that's like ground, that's like table stakes. That's like ground level one. But it's when you start stitching multiple MCPs together, when you start using collections of API calls together, and then can use those in the concert with other things, that's when things really start lighting up, and you're starting to do things now in fractions of a moment that you used to take a long time to build or design. So anyways, it's kind of just really interesting to see how all this is very rapidly evolving. And I don't think we're going to slow down on this at least for a year or two now until things start settling. At some point, it's the same way with like computer processing power, I guess, right? Every year they would double.
Yeah.
But what was it? What's the law? There's a law there. There was like
Every
some
4
kind
years,
of
I think.
yeah, every year it was like doubling in compute power or something like that. But then it kind of plateaued, right? So then it kind of like hit its maximum, and so then we started going from like single processor compute because you can only make the wires on the processor so small. You can only add so many transistors. There's only so much small stuff you can build. At some point, they said, okay, now we have to build more computers, multiple CPUs that communicate together, and that's kind of where we're at now.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yes. And very interested in talking about what we can do. I'm sure in our next conversation we'll talk about us actually using a lot of these MCPs. And I did see, I was looking for an MCP for a tool. I don't remember which tool right now, but that I needed. And I looked at the GitHub repo, and it was made by a Microsoft team. So what you're saying, yeah, it's real. Like they're building for their own tools, but they're also building for other people's tools because they know that their clientele wants to start integrating with the LLMs. So very
Moore's
exciting
law
stuff.
That's what it was. It's Moore's law is the compute the CPU compute doubling law. It's not a standard, but it was kind of like a regular. Every couple of years, it was like doubling the amount of compute power we were able to have. And architectures got better, things got more efficient, and now it kind of started plateauing at some point. So I think we're not at that place for large language models. I think we're still on the growth part of this. We're still on the exponential growth side of things. And so it feels like, in not a year, it's like every month or every 2 months, we're getting huge leaps and bounds effectiveness on top of these things. It's just, it's a very fun time to be in technology, I think. I also feel like I'm also drowning to some degree because it's just happening faster than I can keep track of it.
So fast. Like today, all the news about the new ChatGPT agent.
Yes.
Right? That now it'll go in the computer and do things for you and plan calendars. And like you were saying, it's slower, but it's taking its time.
Yep.
But it's doing things that were sort of get out of the chat. Right.
Yes.
And so that's going to be very interesting to talk about in a few days as well. We've got to wrap it up right now because my girls are arriving, but literally the car's driving right in. But thanks so much for joining us today, Mike, and we'll talk in the next one. And everyone who's live, thank you for listening as well, and we'll talk soon.
Appreciate you all. Thank you very so much. See you next time for another quick chat around AI things.
See you. Thanks.
Bye.